Hi, everybody. This is Noelle from Petitti Garden Centers, and we're here at our Oakwood Village store, and we are going to do a spotlight on fountain grasses. So if you didn't know their botanical name is Pennisetum. Just so you know, asterisk here, the name is changing or has changed. But for as long as I've been growing fountain grasses, they've been known as Pennisetum. So we're going to stick with that for right now until somebody tells us differently, okay? So Pennisetum, what's neat about it is the Latin name. Penna means feather, obviously feathery kind of inflorescence, and seta means bristle. So lots of times people will say they're bristly like a bottle brush as well. So you've got Pennisetum. And then for this video, I do have mostly hardy perennial Pennisetum fountain grasses, okay? But we do have 2 annual varieties that we'll show you as well. The hardy varieties are known as Pennisetum elapicuroides, kind of a mouthful, but those are the ones, if you want a hardy, really easy to grow grass, that's what we're going to give you attributes about today. And we'll let you know about the annual ones too. Okay, so to start out with, Pennisetum or fountain grass is used obviously by us as an ornamental plant, but they're in the millet family, believe it or not. So they are used as forage and food products as well, okay? So there are a lot of uses for Pennisetum out there. There are probably 80 to 130 species of Pennisetum worldwide. So again, kind of a broad grass family. So lots of different types out there. For our purposes here in Northeast Ohio, they love the sun. Okay, so we always talk about sun requirements and how to succeed with these guys. And they really would prefer to be in full sun conditions. They can take part shade, but just be aware if they are in a part shade condition, that 4 to 6 hours in part shade, what happens is they might open up, they might stretch a little bit more, be a little bit taller, and they might not produce as many of their flowers. And it's such a nice feature that I hate for you not to have those flowers. So again, full sun conditions, 6 or more direct hours of sunlight is fantastic for them. They love that. As far as soil is concerned, average soils, well drained, and I have a little caveat on that one as well, they can take dry to wet soils. The wet soil is the thing with the caveat, is it needs to be periodic wetness. So they make a great grass for putting in something like a rain garden, for example. So we have heavy storms, you have your rain garden that serves as a retention basin. Water flows into there. As the water slowly percolates out, they're very happy in that type of condition. But if your soils stay wet year round, that's not good for them, especially during the winter months. If they are wet and cold, you'll lose the grass, okay? So again, average to well-drained soils, and yes, anywhere from dry to wet conditions, but again, that wet needs to be periodic. Okay, so keep that in mind when you are planting, finding a good sunny spot for these grasses, okay? And most of the time, grasses are going to need those sort of warmer, sunny, drier conditions. That's really where they do well. Okay, next thing is temperatures. So with your perennial grasses here, the varieties that we have and we grow, we're looking at zones 5 to 9 or 6 to 9. And I'm going to tell you, when Pennisetum has more color to it, that usually means, and I should say colorful foliage, that usually means they're a little bit less cold tolerant, okay? But everything for us in Northeast Ohio works as far as the varieties that we have here and are growing. So they're hardy for our hardiness zones. So again, wherever you are in the world, look up your hardiness zones. Again, for us, 5, some are 5, zone 5, some are zone 6. That's great for us in Northeast Ohio, all the way to 9. Okay. The next thing that we need to know is watering. And I tell you in every spotlight, whenever you get new plants established, it could be lawns, it could be trees and shrubs, it could be perennials, they want 1 inch of water 1 time per week, slow, deep, thorough watering. Okay, it's really important, especially if you're planting in the warmer months of summer. You've got to stay on top of your watering. And if you move into more of a drier drought condition that's happening, we haven't had some rain in quite some time here. Heavy rain, I should say, thorough, good rain. So you've got to stay on top of that watering. So just be aware of that, especially if you're planting in summer months. It's fine to plant. It's just you need to watch your watering. Okay, so be aware of that as well. Okay, fertilizer. Grasses don't need a lot of fertilizer. They do very, very well, again, in poor soil conditions. So the fertilizer part of this is really not that, I should say, as much maintenance as some of our other perennials here, okay? So again, fertilization once in spring with plant tone and iron tone, once midsummer with plant tone and iron tone. That's all you would need. That would be the most that you would need. If you do one spring feeding, your ornamental grasses will be just fine if you forget that midsummer feeding. Okay, so don't worry about that as well. Let's move on to attributes of these plants because they are so low maintenance. Again, most of your ornamental grasses that we grow in northeastern Ohio, they are low maintenance plants and they are so resistant to deer browsing, rabbit browsing that we just really do. We love them because of that. They're just so easy. And there are very few disease issues and other pest issues like insects. You find very few problems on ornamental grasses. So that's wonderful. We're going to keep our fingers crossed that always stays that way. But you rarely have an issue and you rarely have to spray or treat ornamental grasses. They just do a great job. So that's always a really good thing with them. I was going to say with maintenance, though, before we get to the attributes, low maintenance obviously is a great attribute. Though really the one thing that you have to watch out for these is you want to make sure they're getting cut back in late winter. And late winter is the key here because we like to keep our ornamental grasses up all through fall and winter when they really look awesome. And it's always something to look at over the winter. So they provide great winter interest for us. And so we wait until late winter, right around March, before they really start to push new growth. And we'll try to cut them down as low as you can go. With the fountain grasses, they're usually shorter varieties, more compact varieties. So just getting really low at the base of where the foliage and the stems came out and really trying to cut down there. If you want to use a weed whacker, fine. If you want to use head shears, fine. Anything works as far as getting them as low as possible. And the whole idea is to cut them at that time because you want to get rid of all of this old dried growth before they start pushing out new growth. If you leave it on the plant for too long, the new growth is going to try to push through it. And ultimately, it could stunt that new growth and the new flowering that's coming on for the year. So again, these are very tough perennials, but everything will die back, dry out. We leave it up for the winter, and then that late winter, early spring, that's when you want to cut them back. Get all that out of there. Go ahead and compost it. And then just enjoy them and they'll start to fill out again for you. Okay. Now, lots of people ask me, do I have to wait until late winter to cut these back? No, you can cut them back in the fall, but I always tell folks that's why we grow ornamental grasses. So you have something to look at fall and winter. Okay. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't hurt them if you cut them back in fall. We just prefer to keep that interest out there for the winter months. Okay, great. That was maintenance. Really hard, right? So again, now let's go to attributes. So we have our low maintenance, no problem whatsoever with these grasses. They're very, very pest resistant, no problems with disease, larger or smaller pests. they do great. Well, the other thing that we like about them is they're really cool cut flower or dried flower, in fact. So these inflorescence will hold very well. They'll look beautiful in a bouquet with other flowering plants. And so they're kind of fun for that cutting garden aspect to them. So look for the different colors of inflorescence, the different shapes of inflorescence, because there are subtle differences there. So that's always really nice among the varieties of Pennisetum. Another thing that we really like about them is you can use them in different aspects of the garden, as far as in a border, as a foundation plant. You can use them as a specimen plant, just a single spiky specimen out there. Looks really, really wonderful. So there are a lot of uses. Again, as long as they're in a sunny area and a well-drained area, they'll do very, very nicely. And I mentioned before, in rain gardens, in cottage gardens, in mixed borders with other perennials and shrubs, they do really nicely. And I love a beautiful grouping of Pennisetum. They'll start to flower typically in July and carry those flowers through into fall and again winter. So you've got a lot of interest there. And of course, because they produce seed heads, the birds like them too. So you will see some birds coming through and visiting, picking off the seeds of some of these varieties as well. So just keep that in mind as one of their great attributes out there. Great garden companions with grasses are your daisy family. You can pick your favorites. We have coneflowers here among our Pennisetums right now, but the coneflowers, the black-eyed Susans, the coreopsis, asters, all of those will work really nicely. You can also try for like rain garden. If you have that moist area where you're planting a rain garden, you can do things like milkweed with them. That would look absolutely wonderful with them too. So there's lots of options that will go and grow very well with your fountain grass. Okay, let's move on to varieties here. And so I'm going to point out, as far as the varieties are concerned, as I mentioned, fountain grasses are kind of on the shorter side compared to some of the other ornamental varieties. Our ornamental varieties that we grow, I have everything from a 1-footer to about a 4-footer, okay? And typically that mature size is when they're in flower, okay? So they are quite compact as far as ornamental grasses are concerned. The first one and the shortest one that we do grow, and I think everybody loves to grow this plant, is called Little Bunny, okay? And Little Bunny is right out front here. Cute little, short little silvery white inflorescence here. And maybe the foliage comes to 6 inches, maybe 8 inches tall, green tuft, really, really tight clump forming. These grasses are clump forming, just so you know. They're not running types. So clump forming grass, very, very tight green mound, spiky mound. And then, of course, in July, you see those bottle brushes come up from the base of that plant, and they'll produce maybe about 2-inch long bottle brush flowers, okay? So that's Little Bunny. Little Bunny is wonderful. People love it. Okay, now the next one, the next size up is going to be, oh my gosh, I was going to say Ruby Ribbons, and that is not correct at all. This is Burgundy Bunny. Oh my gosh, my brain is going, folks. Sorry about that. So Burgundy Bunny. Burgundy Bunny is just a step up from Little Bunny size-wise, maybe 1.5 feet when it is in bloom, okay? So here the difference is you see that their inflorescence are very similar, that kind of white silvery inflorescence coming out, but Burgundy Bunny has sort of red-tipped foliage as it develops through the growing season. And so you kind of get a combination of red and green on this very compact plant. Really, really nice, very pretty. So look for that. If you're looking for some red highlights here, that might be a good one for you. The next one that is so popular is actually this one here. So right behind Burgundy Bunny, This one is called Hamlin, okay? It does have a German name. I'm not sure if it was named after the place where the Pied Piper was from, but I think maybe that has to do with its name. Hamlin is just gorgeous. And it's, again, the next size up that we grow, it's about 3 foot tall when it is in full bloom. The foliage comes up to about 2 foot or so. And did I mention with fountain grasses, they get their name because when the inflorescence come out, they sort of spray up like water out of a fountain and arch this way. Sorry, Taylor, if I repeated that. But anyway, so that's where they really get their name from, okay, their common name from. Hamlin is all green foliage, nice tight mounds, really fills out, beautiful silvery white inflorescence there. Just a classic. Everybody loves it. Gardeners love it. Landscapers love it. It just seems like everybody loves Hamlin. So do look for that out there. And you'll see it in landscapes quite often. The next tallest is Carly Rose. And Carly Rose, when you look at these inflorescence, you do see a pinky, lavender, silver, bronze. You see a lot of color shades in the inflorescence here on this grass. And it is, again, very, very green. It's kind of an apple green color, so that's very nice. And as those inflorescence come up, Carly Rose is really supposed to be on like the 3 foot mark, maybe a little bit bigger when it is in full flower. And again, foliage is around the 2.5 tall mark. So it, again, makes a very, very nice clump. And it's really pretty. That color is just super soft, but very, very pretty. Okay, my tallest one that I have, actually I have 2, but one's not blooming yet. This tall one here, this is called Redhead, okay? Redhead obviously gets its name from its very big bottle brush flowers here, but also you can see it has this sort of burgundy red cast to it, and it will hold that color for a long time. So that's Redhead. Beautiful green foliage again. Max out at about 4 foot in the garden. Foliage probably comes up to about 3 foot in the garden. So just be aware, one of the taller ones that we grow. And then down below, it's right here by me. I have a green foliage type, again, has a very thick foliage to it, probably the thickest out of all of these varieties that I've shown you. And this one is called Moudry, so Moudry. And Taylor will show you a picture of this. And this is one of the last to bloom. So it's a late bloomer as far as Pennisetum is concerned. The seed heads are really large, very similar to Redhead, but even bigger and fuller. And it has a very dark color to it, almost like a black seed head to it. I did want to tell you, though, be aware with Moudry, this one can reseed itself. And so if you don't want other Pennisetum growing around in your garden, you want to deadhead this one, okay? So when it does start to kind of fade in color, go ahead and cut those flowering stems down so you don't have to worry about the reseeding. The other varieties that I've shown you, they're really good. They really don't produce, it's what they call sterile varieties, so they really don't produce seedlings out in the open garden and the open ground like that. Okay, very good. Now, I want to preface this. These 2 varieties that I'm showing you are annual varieties of Pennisetum. And everybody kind of gets disappointed when I tell them that. But this one here has been popular for years. And this is Pennisetum rubrum. Rubrum is the variety, okay? And Pennisetum rubrum is purple fountain grass, what we normally call purple fountain grass. And you can tell why. It has a very deep purpley burgundy color, okay? And the inflorescence come out, and you can see they have sort of a pink purple inflorescence that will open and get much larger. I thought I had a larger one. Oh, here it is, Taylor. Okay. So here's the larger, more open one. It's probably 10 inches long. So big inflorescence, really, really colorful grass. Folks, this is zones 9 and 10. So in Northeast Ohio, we can't grow this outside. We have to grow it as an annual, and it does very, very well as an annual grass for us. It's lovely in containers. Make it a thriller or centerpiece in containers. Plant all different types of flowers around it. Beautiful, beautiful. But if we leave it outside in the ground or in a container, it will die. It actually needs to be inside the home for us with some heat, with some light, and sometimes you can keep them year-round over the winter inside, and then cut them back, and then again use them outside as an annual. So just so you know, I'm sorry that it's not hardy, but I'm telling you that breeders are really working on more colorful foliage varieties. We're just not to purple fountain grass just yet, but getting closer, I feel, every year. This other one that I wanted to show you, this is ornamental millet, and I'm just taking her up, and this is called Jade Princess. She's really pretty, and we grow this as a fall kind of ornamental annual that you can put in containers or you can grow it in the ground. And millet will produce these very large, showy seed heads. And millet is normally that round seed that you find in birdseed, but folks are using millet as like a gluten-free option of grain as well. So we're seeing millet in a lot of different things now, but this is just an ornamental type, and it has sort of corn-like foliage here, very thick. And this is known as Pennisetum glaucum. Glaucum, I think, is correct. And glaucum means kind of waxy. And so the foliage is sort of waxy. So that's really interesting with this plant. Jade Princess, we do have kind of a darker leaf as well that's becoming available. And these flowers, these inflorescence, will start to fill out. They'll get nice and kind of dark red burgundy. And then you might see those little seeds forming on this plant as well. So really pretty sort of late summer, fall interest in the garden or in containers. So that one's really fun too. Okay. So that's all the Pennisetum family. Pennisetum, again, lots of hardy varieties. So please come and look at all the different varieties. Short and a little bit taller, but really up to about 4 foot. So kind of compact when we're talking about ornamental grasses. They need full sun, or prefer full sun, I should say. Put them in average to well-drained to periodically wet soils. They'll be fine for you. And we always talk about, I don't know if I mentioned it, but most of your grasses are drought tolerant and heat tolerant, of course, but they need to be established first. So that's where your watering comes in. 1 inch of water 1 time per week. Slow, deep waterings, really, really nice. And then again, fertilizer, just plant tone and iron tone in the spring. And maybe midsummer. If you miss midsummer, it's going to be okay. Your grasses really can tolerate poorer soils, less nutrients in the soil. So do think about that. And then other than that, enjoy them for their fall, their winter interest, their easy care. They do a great job for us. Enjoy.